Shabbat Shalom to all of you. This morning we have a very special parasha. Bo, come. And it's where finally the three final plagues are going to do a very important role. Many of our sages has called these last three plagues as plagues of darkness, even that the number 9 is specifically darkness. You are going to see the darkness in all these three. One soft darkness, one very heavy darkness in the physical way, but the last one, it is a totally spiritual darkness. And we need to start to look at the scriptures in the way that we can understand it. You know, I have been telling you that my desire is to practice biblical Judaism. And because I try to practice biblical Judaism, and when I say to myself that I try to be a Shomer Torah, many times people confuse because word. There was a contention or a dispute or a fight, if we want to put a championship between two powers. The earthly power and the power of God, the power of the Creator, blessed be His name. And then you have the two champions. Each one was represented by the champion. On the blue corner, we had Moshe Rabbeinu. On the red corner, we had Pharaoh, the king of Israel, Egypt. And they're going to fight. And all the Coliseum and everybody was shouting who was going to win. Moshe Rabbeinu was being taken care by Adonai, our Creator, Almighty God. Blessed be Him. And Pharaoh was taken care by all his group and all his gods. All gods, every god that they could have that was there present. What it does? It is a competition which God is the real God. From one side, Israel, totally oppressed, has lost the desire even to fight. And you have the very proud people of Egypt. They had the great Nile River. They had the beautiful construction, the pyramids, the castles, and everything. And they were superior to these poor people, these shepherds. And then comes the battle. And one after the other one, our Creator was showing through Moses Rabbeinu to Pharaoh that our God, the only God, the only true God, there is no other God besides Him, blessed be Him, defeated them over and over all their gods. And these final three situations, the locusts, who make the day like dark, and then this Hoshech, that this darkness that covered their sun God, that was the greatest God that they could have. And finally, what's going to be the Maccabee Harot, the death of the firstborn. And here this has caused a lot of controversies. And the controversies is how a God that is so just and loving and caring, how He could get vindictive and kill and destroy innocent children and people that they didn't do anything wrong, killing the firstborn. And here we are going to see a lot of illustrations and scenes that we need to take in consideration to interpret it and to understand all this. First of all, was un crescendo from the gods of Israel that were common gods, like in the Nile River and all these things, to the highest and most unique God, who was Pharaoh. The concentration of all the gods was in Pharaoh. And through Pharaoh, the firstborn. And that civilization and that culture, we need to look at in this way, that the firstborn always occupy a very special position. Only because you were firstborn, you have a special things over you, not only rights and honors, but at the same time, they consider you superior to everybody else. You were a male, firstborn, you know? And remember, already we look at our scriptures, and we are going to see that that was not the case with the Hebrew people. We know that the firstborn occupy a very special place and has certain rights, but it was not considered the best or the incarnated one. Totally the contrary. In biblical Judaism, what we see in the revelation of the Torah, we see that was for merit, was not because you were the number one, but because you deserve the place. We see it at the beginning with Abraham Avinu, and we see the situation between Ishmael and Isaac. And we know from the beginning, in the description of the Torah, that the characteristics of Ishmael and the characteristics of Isaac, and Isaac was much better than Ishmael. That was the reason he was chosen. The same thing, the next one. We see the case of Jacob and Esau. Jacob had in his heart the desire to continue. Esau didn't care. Then we continue, and we see in the descendants of Jacob the 12 children from 4 mothers. And we see here that it's not Reuben, the one that is going to inherit the position, but it's Judah, who is the firstborn, and Joseph, who is the born from Rachel. Then we see later on, Judah's children through Tamar. And we continue, even to the time of King David. You know, when David was chosen, you know, Samuel, the prophet, went to look for all the sons of Jesse. And what happened? You know, he went from the number 1 down. Finally, he said, do you have any more children? Because I have gone through all of them and couldn't find one. And the Creator said, there is still one. A little boy that is, a young man that is in with the animals. You know, there's a shepherd. And who was there? David, the number 8. And in Gematria, that has a lot of means. You know, a new breed, a new covenant. Anyway, but we see in the history of the Hebrews, the Jews. But in the time of Egypt, the number 1 has certain conditions of God-like. The reincarnation of God. And you're going to see that this idea of the reincarnation of God as a human is going to be in many religions, including in Christianity. They are passing this idea. However they want to put it, the theologians, however they want to explain it, and the way they want to put it very nicely or sanitize it, the truth of the matter that is an all pagan ideas. Nothing new. But we come back again to the scriptures. We have this festival. You know, it's no coincidence that at the end we are going to start with the death of the firstborn, and we are going to start this Hag, the festival of the Hag. What it means that they say we are going to go to allow us to celebrate the Hag, they say in the scripture, the festival. What was this festival? Well, already at that time, those civilizations, they will celebrate a spring. The springtime, what is a spring? A spring is a new birth, new beginnings, life. You know, this is the time that all the animals give birth, and usually the humans are born too. You know, that this is a special time. The field become green. You know, the new crops. All of that. All civilizations, depending about how the religion worked, they celebrated in different ways. And that was very, very, very interesting. That was the idea of the goddess of fertility. By the way, don't be surprised that today the Christian people celebrate Easter. Don't be surprised that they celebrate the bunny or the eggs. You know? Why? Because that is the old type of religion about, the Easter, the fertility goddess. That's what it is. Pagan mix it with the religion. That's all. But when you talk like that, people get upset with you. No, we have changed. Well, you have changed. But let's go back to the scripture. What is the intention of the Creator with Israel? Very simple. To demonstrate to Israel that he is the only true God and there is no other God beside him. That's very important. Secondly, that all the gods that have been created by humans they are not good for anything and they don't have any power. All the power is in the ideas that men they have done. And that's how they produce myths, that's how they produce legends, But the truth of the matter, they don't work. There's only ideas. And he destroyed all those ideas in a very clear way for these people, for the Hebrew people, to understand that there is no other God. And for these very proud people, the Egyptians, to see that there is no any other God but the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Until the end, Pharaoh was very reluctant to accept it. And when he allowed them to leave, we see it in chapter 12. Not only he let them go finally because he defeated, but he said, and please also bring me a blessing to me. Later on, we're going to see in Beshalach, in the next parasha, that he changed his mind. He said, I was crazy, what happened to me? How did I let them go? And he's going to persecute them, and we are going to see other things that happen. And also we are going to see the reality of Israel, the Hebrew people. And then you're going to realize that the Hebrew people, they didn't live convinced that it was the best for them. They left because the Egyptians threw them out. They left because they gave him money. Literally, they buy them out to get out of Egypt. If they were forced to leave, they will stay. Look at what happened in Germany. And you're going to see many similarities. We have not changed. There is no difference between, I always say, from Adam and Eva or Adam and Eve to today, men and women have not changed at all. We are still exactly the same. And this teaching of this morning, I wanted to bring it for today. Have you been reading the news? How you know what is going on in the world? This idea about the position of appeasement. These very developed countries, they're trying to appease the terrorists. They don't want to say the truth about anything because they are afraid that you are going to hurt their feelings. It's very interesting that they have had the chutzpah to compare what they have done to a group of 7 countries this week, that not to allow to come to United States for a period of time to review them. They have equated with what happened with the Jewish people when they came in a ship and they were not allowed not to stop in Florida, no in New York, no in Canada, and they were sent back to the concentration camps. What a world we have. What a chutzpah in this world. And I get upset when they compare that with these people. The Jewish people, they didn't kill anybody. The Jewish people, they didn't threaten anybody. The Jewish people, they never say, if you don't let me get, I would destroy you. Never. Totally the contrary. They were the people who brought a lot of goods to the rest of the world. That's the reason they get upset when they do those comparisons. And the saddest part to me is not the liberal people, it's not the Gentiles. To me, it's the Jewish liberal people that are the worst. They are the most anti-Semites that we have today. Moshe Rabbeinu needed to deal with the same people when they brought it up. They start complaining. From the beginning that they came out, they didn't even want to come. Don't come. Look at what you have done at the beginning. Pharaoh now is more ugly with us. Moshe Rabbeinu was ready to quit. I said, look how you have done. I don't want to do this anymore. I call Moshe Rabbeinu the reluctant leader. And we have these ideas of, I call it from the myths to the legend. We make our heroes bigger than the light. And we don't see their humanity. We lose the perspective of what they are. And it is time that we open our eyes. Moshe Rabbeinu was no God. And Moshe Rabbeinu was no a miracle worker. Everything that he did was under the supervision and the authority of the Creator. And he was the most humble man that existed on the earth. He never brought to himself, look at me, what great I am. It's exactly what Yeshua came to do. He never said, I am God. No, there is my Father who is in heaven. No, I. Like it has been made for other people to believe. That is the lie of theologians and religious people who put in your head ideas that are not true. And come here the death of the firstborn, because the final blood was to show Pharaoh and to show the Hebrews that they were not touched under a sign of blood. And it's very interesting. Something that we do not perceive, and sometimes we pass over, and like the term Passover, we don't see it, is that behind here there are two elements that are combined or together. That Creator wants to give us a lesson. The first one that nobody talks too much is about circumcision, Brit Milah. What do you think? In chapter 12, verses 43 and down, he very specifically says, no uncircumcised person can partake of this hag. It's very clear. No the foreigners, no anybody who has not been circumcised. And if you have foreigners, you have people from outside, and they want to participate, what they need to do? They need to circumcise. What I mean circumcision? We saw in chapter 2 on the farm when Zipporah became the bride of blood because she circumcised her son in front of Moshe Rabbeinu. We see in chapter 17, we see about the Brit Milah covenant that has Abraham in Bereshit. Abraham and our Creator. The Brit Milah. Why these covenants? Because what do you mean the covenant of circumcision? The covenant of circumcision means commitment. I become part of you. Loyalty. We are one. Then if you want to be part of this, first of all, you need to be covenantal with me. And the second, why the blood of the lamb? In the detail, where, by the way, the Pesach not necessarily means to jump over, what it means is shield, to be over. What our Creator was going to be our shield, our protector. That's what it means. Two things that happen here. Why to kill a lamb or a goat? Today it's only the lamb. They call it the lamb. But no. They say, the scripture say, could be an animal. Was not necessarily specifically a lamb. Was a lamb or a goat. Even there, it's already totally mystified. And was not because that was a special animal in the sense of for the Jewish people. Because the Jewish people were accustomed to eat it. That was not the problem. The problem was to show the Egyptians, because the lamb and the goat, they represent Aries, they represent a constellation, they represent their gods. In chapter 8 of this portion, of this, in Shemot, Exodus, say basically, when the Pharaoh said, go and do your sacrifices and worship your God. He said, we couldn't do it in front of you because that will be what? An abomination to you. And we are afraid that you can do something to us. Then what was the challenge of killing and roasting this animal in front of the Egyptians? To show them, we have lost now any fear on you. We do not care that what you can do it, because our Creator is greater than you and all your gods. And not only that, we are eating your gods. And the blood is a symbol. It's a symbol in which what means? The covenant. Why? Because the blood means life. That's it. It's a meaning. It's only a picture. Because our God talked to his people with pictures that they could understand. Sometimes we are so sophisticated today that we're trying to analyze the blood, what the blood is composed, and what is the elements of the blood, and because of the blood is this, because of the blood, and you had it, the genes and this and that. Give me a break. The chromosomes. Give me a break. He was not saying human blood. There was only blood. And many people want to make it believe. And what was he saying? The continuation of life, that doesn't depend on these animals. I am the giver of life. And then he changed the Abib Hag for the Pesach, that he was the true liberator and the true giver of life. Was no fertility, was no the abundance of birth, but it was he, the giver of life. Because our Creator is the giver of life. And changed the mentality of all these nations who were pagans, and they had a different. And he started what I call it sanitizing many of the pagans' ideas and making us better. I like what Maimonides, Moses Maimon, Rabbi, who writes very clear about these areas. How we needed to win out of paganism little by little, and to transform ourselves to look at the only one who creates life, the only one that's capable to create life, nobody else. We cannot create life. We are only continuation. Well, I told you how upset I am about what is going on today. Because to me, to apply these principles of being liberated means that in whom do we trust? Means what are our principles and values? And we as a nation, we as a people in the world, we do not have the basic rights, and we do not have the basic understanding about the caring of life and the understanding that we do not have the right to take anybody's life. Many of us complain a lot about those people that are crazy and they kill for nothing. Have you asked this question? How many abortions are in the civilized world today? Abortion has become only a medical thing. What about the life of the babies? And what about euthanasia? You're too old now, you don't produce anything. You're not good for anything. You know, you are really bothering me. I want to eliminate you. We are so sophisticated now that life means nothing to us. And then we complain about not to kill the whale. But we can kill the human beings. We are more worried about the animals than about the human beings. That is the hypocrisy of the world. All the politicians, all the religious people that are holier than thou, why they do not look at the scripture and they see the truth? You shall not kill. You shall not commit murder. That's very important. But who cares now? You know, if I am doing okay, let the people do whatever they want to do. And, you know, we are in the time of judges. Everybody's doing according to the way that they like it. You know, just I was looking at the news, and the so-called liberal people, the open-minded, because this is very interesting. More liberal you are, more open-minded you are. And you more conservative you are, more narrow-minded you are. You know? But the liberals, they do not allow to talk other people. They're afraid about the truth. Why they are afraid? If they are the one that has everything in their side. That to tell you about how backwards we are, and how the Torah, and how here, right now, our Creator choose a person to lead us out of the mess that we are. We need leaders to help us to lead out of the mess that we are. But a leader who doesn't have respect and reverence for the Creator is a dictator. A person that doesn't have the values, basic values of the Torah, is a dictator. And this is the problem that we have today. All of us, we are crying out for justice when something happened to us. For justice to others when it's not my problem. You know, this is interesting. These people who are screaming, you know, for to bring these people, and they condemn about the injustice of the governments today that they are not allowing to count these people. Why did you not go and complain to those countries where the women don't have any rights? When you cannot practice your religion, or you cannot say who you are. Why they don't go and complain there? Because here they can scream. You know? Even those people who are fleeing, and then they become terrorists. Why they can be terrorists here? Because here they have freedom. It is time that this world matures. And it is time that they understand what Moshe Rabbeinu came to do under the direction of our Creator. To take a people out of their own incapabilities. Our Creator doesn't want us to give up. Our Creator wants us to be active. Our Creator wants that we become really transformers. That's what He's asking us. He takes us, He leads us, but we have the responsibility to speak out. Proverbs 31, 7 and 8. Who is going to speak for those one who cannot speak for themselves? Who is going to defend for those one who cannot defend themselves? We are the ones. God has brought justice to this world to talk for those one that cannot talk. You know, the Torah is going to teach you 3 principles to take care of the widow, the orphan, and the foreigner. Oh, and then what you're talking about, not to receive these people from outside. I have never said not to receive the people. What I say, any people that you receive, you need to check it. And no, because among these people, sadly enough, the terrorists are using them to destroy the countries. Look at what is going on now in Europe. And you're going to see the truth. One thing is to help. Another thing is to be very naive. And it is time that we wake up. Well, Moshe Rabbeinu make the Hebrew people wake up. But even though we're going to see in the next weeks that he wake them up, sometimes they didn't act it in the way that supposedly they needed to act. And what it tells you the scriptures, what it tells you the Torah. You know, we the Hebrew people, we Israel, we are not saints. We are not pure. We are not the best. We are human like anybody else. But when we understand our calling, we come back to the centrality. And this is what our Creator wants for us, to understand what He has brought us here, to do what is right, and to do good. Shabbat Shalom.